Hey, everybody. It's Big J coming at you with a new line of podcasts to go along with my sports podcast. This one is going to be about financial smarts, financial literacy. It's needed in our community, man. Basically, I got a guest coming on here who has a wealth of knowledge with that, um, who does a great job in explaining it. His name is Mike Green. He'll be with us in a minute, short minute. But first, I want to say thank you to my sponsor, Compass Timepieces, American born, Swiss made, high end. You can go to the website, Compass Timepieces, compass.com, and check out the watches. They're pretty nice, man. They're really nice, to be honest. David Carrington is the founder and owner of that company based in Los Angeles, and he does a great job with his timepieces. But we're going to get started here. And Mike, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. How you doing?
Okay, I'm pretty good. So I just got through talking to the audience. I introduced you already, but I'm gonna let you introduce yourself again. Give more detail if you want. Go ahead.
Well, my name is Mike Green. I'm a regional vice president in the financial sector, and I've been doing it about 8 years. And I love helping people understand about how to build their finances and help them create generational wealth and just truly understand how the world works. And for a long time, I didn't know how the world works, so I like to teach that to people as far as when it comes to finances. So
Uh, Basically, like I was telling the audience before I brought you in from the backstage of the studio, um, financial literacy, man. Financial. Uh, it's very important in our community, and a lot of us don't get into our late 20s and in our 30s. Sometimes some of us never get it, um, and then we wonder why we can't buy those major purchases that we all dream of having sometimes, like homes and maybe creating a small business and things of that nature. What would be your key to that? Making sure people are learning it earlier, and so they're not stuck in that rut when it's time to purchase, and they're not trying to hustle up, just trying to fix their credit and things like that.
well, one of the things I suggest is, well, I wouldn't say suggest, but one of the things that when I talk to people about this is them understanding that it's going to be a time that comes that it's going to be very, very important to you. And a lot of times we've been taught in our 20s and 30s, have fun, live your life, and you got time. Honestly, it's actually the opposite way around. You have to start thinking about your finances. But I'll be Big J. I'll tell you, man. I don't know if somebody like me, maybe somebody that, because I'm gonna hit you in the face with it if it's somebody that I'm close to or I know. But depending on the situation or who the person was, I probably wouldn't have still done what somebody like me would have taught me in my 20s. I promise you, I use this, and I don't use this to talk down on myself. But I'm not a rocket scientist by any. I'm not the smartest
Mm-hmm.
man in the room many times, but most people can't outwork me. Most people don't understand that I'm always about the information and finding the information. But it took me some time to get there. In my 20s, I was just a knucklehead, just trying to figure it out. So I don't hold it against young people that don't seek. There are some, but I don't hold it against young people that don't seek out learning this wisdom at an early age. But I try to implore them to understand that it's gonna come a time, and here's one of the keys. When you want it, when you want things that you talk about, making those big purchases and wanting to do some things, you want it right then. And now when you figure it out in your, let's say middle 30s, many times people, they don't realize how much of a hole that they put themselves in through the 20s, and then now, okay, I got this. I know what I need. I know what my family needs. I know where I want to take my family. I want it right now. But now you got a 10-year hole you built for yourself. And that's one of the things that I tell young people. It's going to come a time that you're going to want this, and you're going to want the information. You're going to want to do things for your family. How big of a hole do you have to dig out of at that time? So while you're young, here's some small things you can do. If you save money, most people save money. But Big J, most people save money in the bank. They get a direct deposit. Now they got their debit card, and they put a certain amount into the savings account. The banks love that. That's why they want you to set up direct deposit, because your check goes right to them. They don't need you to bring it in and cash it in and you take that whole amount. Most of the time, if you get direct deposit, it gets in that account. Now they can play around with your money right then. And then if it's already in that account, usually people will transfer $50 or whatever they save over to their savings. So it's already there, and the bank capitalizes off of that. So if anything I'll tell somebody young is, if you're saving money, $25, $50 a month, let's say you're doing $50 a month, let's put 25 in the bank account, and let's put 25 in a mutual fund, an IRA, a bond, something that's going to get you more interest than the bank giving you 0.1% interest.
And a lot of people don't understand too when they see those letters where the banks are insured. What is it, FDIC?
FDIC.
Yeah, and they're insured for a reason, because basically they're using your money.
That's right.
To
invest,
to play with, to invest, and then you never miss it unless the bank goes belly up. But that's major banks that doesn't normally happen. But you never miss your money.
Well, let me say it this way, Jay. Let me add this. I don't mean to cut you off, but let me add this. Number one, Jay, they only insure your money up to $250,000. So that means if you got $500,000, you lose $250,000 if the bank goes belly up. So a lot of rich people
didn't know that.
Yes, you should look that up. A lot of rich people, let's say a millionaire, well, he's going to put 250 here, 250 here, 250. He's not going to put that million all in that bank, because if they go belly up, he loses 750,000. The other thing is, I tell people, is insurance. Your money is being played with. But what happens is, if everybody got their money in the bank, they're using our money to invest their money. They have a cash reserve. So let's say you had a decent amount, $10,000, $20,000. Well, many times they may not have that money in the bank. They have to order that money from the cash reserve, because in theory, your physical $10,000 is out invested into the global economy. So if you came in and say, hey, I need my 10,000, the reason why your 10,000 and other people's money is not actually physically there is because it's being invested, and then they have a cash reserve that they can give you your money from. So a lot of people don't understand that. Then there's another thing, and I don't want to get too wide. I can get this thing too wide open, but it's about debt. America uses debt as an asset. So they loan Big J some money. That's a debt. They didn't really loan you physical money. They loaned you a wire. They loaned you fictitious air. They just sent some air in, and so now your account says I have 10,000 in it, even though physically no money was transferred. So all they did for you is transferred you debt. You now owe 10,000. You have $10,000 worth of buying power, spending power, but the money is actually created by you going to work to get real money, and then pay their wire, which is not physical. It's nothing physical about that wire transfer that they sent you, but the money you send them back is physical money that you worked and labored for. And a lot of people don't understand that. And so this thing can get wide open, but I kind of want to get it back down where we're talking about how to help people build finance and be wealthy, but understanding some of these things is very important as well.
Yes, definitely. And just before you go on, I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and when I came home from college, job hunting, things of that nature, I ended up getting into law enforcement. Okay, I was a police officer, and I was young. I went to the police academy. I was 23,
Wow.
and I had never made so much money in my life. We're talking court time because you're getting paid for that. You're getting paid for your regular salary. You're getting paid for details. When I say details, it may be a construction site. It may be where you're working overtime. You might work a nightclub. There's money always. So when you're young, when you're 24, 23, 24, 25 years old, you don't see the end. Kind of like athletes,
Yeah.
right? Because it's always there. The money, you got money. You're like, hey, you just blowing money. You just blowing money. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because you know that you can make it back up. So it's like you don't really think about, I need to be putting this away
That's right.
and making sure my debt doesn't, go crazy. So when it's time to buy that house or get a car, well, it's easy to get a car now, but back then, your credit had to be pretty good. Now you got these fly by night auto now places and things like that where they're raking you over the coals, but
Because
they'll
they're
give you a
selling
vehicle.
you debt. That's why you made a good point. And you can get a car easily because they got you on the debt. They sold you the air. That's what I call it. When they
Right.
when they give you a loan, when they give you a car, they sold you air. It's not physical. You're gonna do all the
No.
work to create physical cash, labor to create physical cash to pay off the air. They gave you air.
Right.
But it
And
gave you
then and
spending buying power, but it gave
right.
you debt. And a lot of times the debt supersedes, most times you paying back almost half or three quarters of what I borrowed 100,000, I pay back 170,000.
Mm-hmm.
You incurred, they sold you debt. That's why they'll give that to you easily.
Easy. And and when you get to your 30s, you start to say, man, wait a minute, I'm tired of renting. You know,
Right, yes.
uh, I'm tired of renting. I'll get to it. Or you snap in real quick, and you're like, we got to save some money. You and your wife or your significant other, whoever it may be, you basically say, hey, we need to take care of this so we can go out and purchase a home. We can go out and do this, and we can go out and do that, without having to worry about the bank telling us no, a mortgage company telling us no, you know. And some of us, just like I said at the beginning, some of us just we don't get it until late. There's people that are buying homes at 50 years old, and they're finally getting their first house,
That's right.
which is I don't knock them. I mean, they got their house, but they would have done, if they would have put their mind to it a lot earlier, maybe 20 years earlier, they wouldn't have had to worry about it. They would have been in that home already for 20 years.
That's right.
Think about that.
That's right.
And it's almost paid off.
That's right.
So now it's crazy. I mean, so now you're waiting for, you get in your house at 50 or 60 years old, and finally, oh yeah, I bought a house. It's an accomplishment. And it is. It's an accomplishment. But now you're 75 years old by the time that house is due to pay off, and hopefully you're in good health.
That's right.
Because, so yeah, go ahead though.
Well, what I'll add to that is a lot of times, it's a thing where you don't your mindset, if you haven't seen someone buying a house, if your parents didn't buy a house, and you don't even really learn how to do that until you get there. As the other point, to your point, your finances isn't built in a way till you get there. You're not structured. You haven't been saving. And so a lot of times, you're right, people buy a house at 50 where they retire in 15 years. And now they're getting three quarters. You get about 65% of your income in retirement. So, but think about this, and this is one of the things I add in saying that. 78%, about 70 to 78% of people live paycheck to paycheck right now. If you're struggling getting 100% of what you make on your check, whatever it may be, when you retire, you're making, again, three quarters of that, about 65, you lose about a third of what you were making in retirement in most cases. Now, if you put up more money and have some better investments, then that could be different. But traditionally, most people make about 65% of what they made 100% when they were really working. So if 78% of people are living paycheck to paycheck, and now you retire and you still have to pay a house payment, a lot of people lose their house late in the game because of that, or they can't retire and they have to keep working so they can pay off that house. And so
Right.
what you're saying, it has a couple of different factors. Waiting too late, which then puts you in a position that you can't really afford that high note. And then the other thing is, again, when you're buying a house, $100,000 house, by the time you pay off that 30-year mortgage, you really paid $170,000, $150,000. And so many times, if people understand, the earlier is the better. But hey, whenever you get to that point is, but then what are the strategies of getting that house paid off within, I get this house at 50, I retire, let's just say at 70. How can I get this? That's 20 years and I got a 10-year gap that I won't be working. Well, as I talk about when I help people with debt, this is something that a lot of people knows. You can collapse about 7 years of time just making one extra payment, And then another thing I teach people, even with their investments, it work with your investment as well. Let's say you're investing, and just no different in a house payment, you got an investment that you pay your house payment, you paying into your investment. This is my retirement. I'm paying into this monthly. But this is what I teach people. If you can, make 13 payments in a year. That's one, because now the compounding interest starts to kick in. You're paying, let's say you're saving $200 a month into your IRA or into your mutual fund. Well, it's compounding interest every time you put money in it. But then if you put a 13th payment, it compounds better. But then here's the other thing. A lot of people, I don't know how I haven't got, I pay in more income taxes that I don't know when last time I got an income tax check. But the point I'm making is, when you get income tax checks, that is another way to put a lump sum into your investment. I talk to a lot of my clients and I say, hey, do you guys still get, taxes and, income tax? Yeah, we get it $3 or $4 grand. Would you be willing to do your $200 a month for 13 months? You're going to do it 13 months, but then it's actually going to be a 14th month, because when you get taxes, don't go blow all that money. Don't just go save it in the bank. Take a portion of that, 10%, 20%, $1,000, and then put another extra payment. So now you've made your 12 payments, you made a 13th payment, then at tax season, you make a 14th payment. You will love yourself at retirement, because you're getting the compound. The compound interest is based off every month you put in that $200. It compounds on top of each other. So it's kind of like an algorithm. They know the 200 is coming, and then it compounds. But now that 13th and that 14th payment, that kind of disrupts the algorithm, and it makes it compound in a higher way by making those extra payments. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes definitely sense, because that's something I know about. I just need to practice it.
Right.
Me and my wife, we talk about that all the time. Getting that extra payment in, or maybe two. And then I tell people out there, and you probably know this already. You got to make sure you tell your mortgage company, don't put that towards my interest. You got to call them and physically tell them, hey, put that towards my principal.
That's right.
Because if you don't say anything, they're going to put it towards your interest.
That's right.
That's what they're going to do. And then you're going to be wondering why, wait a minute, I made this payment. Yeah, but that went towards your interest.
That's right.
You got to tell them. You got to dictate to them. They work for you.
That's right.
So so you got to dictate to them and say, hey, take this money and put it towards my principal, not my interest.
You should do that with your car payment too. You can do it with your car payment as well, especially if you make an extra payment. Even if you don't, if you're going to make your car payment, some people just got a direct deposit, and that's another way that they just automatic withdraw. They're putting it, Big J, you just pop something in my, because I just had this conversation. When they have an automatic withdrawal, they withdraw the money and put it where they want to put it. And guess what? The bank is going to always pay themselves first. So you have to, again, like you said, call them, and say, hey, can I put this much? Or you have to physically go to the bank and say, can you put this much towards my principal? And they'll either tell you yes, or I can put this much, I can't do that much. But that is how you do that. And that is so key. That's something our children, our young children, as they start embarking on these things, that's just that little piece of information could be a game changer for them. I'm glad you reminded me of that, because I actually have a couple of young people that just embarked on something that I need to make sure I cement that into their mind. I'm glad you reminded me of that.
And a reason, of course, I do sports as a podcast, but I wanted to add the financial thing because I'm hoping that there's athletes watching this, because they're the ones who run into a lot of trouble because they make so much money initially, but they, like, for instance, I don't want to get off the beaten path, but I'm just trying to relate it to what we're talking about. You get a guy who signs a contract, like we just had the NFL draft. All right, so you get a guy who just signs a contract, a rookie contract, and if he was drafted in the first round, he's going to get that 5th year, that option year. If he wasn't, if he goes later than that, then you're kind of at their beck and win, but you'll get a contract, right? But when they say, okay, so and so in the newspaper the next day they say Mike Green signed this rookie contract for X number of million of dollars, right? Let's say it's $3 million, right? Okay, $3 million. You're good enough to get that $3 million a year. They're not taking into account that you got hopefully you got a financial advisor if you're not good at it yourself, right? You have an agent. You can work that out. So you can negotiate that, okay? And it keeps going. And then you look at these ads, like, you remember the series Broke on ESPN?
Yep.
With Andre Rison and them, remember that?
Yep.
And you're like, man, these dudes had all this money, and they just, and the reason I use the NFL because they have the worst contracts.
Yep.
Baseball, man, that's crazy. There's no cap. And basketball seems to be doing pretty well too with these max deals. But football, man, them guys are banging their bodies up, and their money's not guaranteed. They can sign you for $3 million this year and cut you next year, and you're looking for a job.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And then you guess what you're gonna have to do? You're gonna have to take a pay cut to get on somebody else's roster.
That's right.
But you're gonna play, but you're gonna take a pay cut,
right?
Unless you're a high price free agent. So the finances, like I said, you look at that, and then people don't understand that. Young athletes don't, because, like you said, a lot of us were not raised in that. We don't understand that. We just see we got $1 million now.
That's right.
I got $1 million for putting this ball across the goal line, or putting this ball in the hoop, right? Or hitting this ball out the park. That's all we see.
Right.
And then the family's in your pockets.
That's right. and you said I got $1 million. What they don't realize, you got probably about $550,000 after taxes. And a lot of people, even the athlete might even understand the taxes, but the people, his parents, nobody else, they just heard $1 million. And so They don't realize, and then, like you said, your financial advisor, your agent, all those different things. And then the other thing that happens is, that they prey on the fact that most NFL players come from humble beginnings. A decent amount of them come from humble beginnings. And here's another thing I want people to understand. In NFL, NBA, do you know where they meet a lot of these guys at that end up taking advantage of them? Do you know where they meet a lot of them at? In the locker room. The NFL and NBA will allow these guys, they got on credentials. And so now I'm a millionaire. This guy says he's working with the team, or he got credentials to be back there, and he's talking to you, and you see him talking to other players, and you see different things. But how is this guy I met this guy at an NFL meeting. I met this guy in the locker room, and he's the one that ended up scamming me. That's not by accident. and
No, it's
they
not.
are there to prey on our money. And I tell people all the time, and some people don't, it depends on what you think and how you feel, but your oppressors, even though they may pay you some money, they're not trying to help you live on the same block as them per se. They're not trying to help
No,
you have a
no.
long-term wealth. They may pay you some money to make money. The only reason they're paying you that money because they gonna make 3 times as much as they're paying you. So that's small press. But they'll never teach you how to gain wealth. That's the difference.
Mm-mm.
Making money and creating and gaining wealth is 2 different things. See, the reason why wealth is important, but again, at the same time, it's not important. Don't get this wrong. Money ain't everything, but it's right up there close to breathing. But you can lose $1 million. A man can lose $1 million 5 times and go back and get it a 6th time. Money is very obtainable, especially when you know about money and I have this video that I sent some of my young people. It's called The Strangest Secret. And the strangest secret in this video, it just talks about if you have discipline in certain ways and you have goals and you go about life the right way, don't ever worry about money because you can always manifest and get money again. But but to be successful, you have to have a goal. You have to know where you're going. And many times we may have money but don't know where we're going. And that's
And that's a perfect point. And that goes back to what I was saying when I was a young cop, and I just had money, because I had a young family, and I had never made that much money before.
that's right.
A year, So I was like, oh wow, me and my wife went from here in a matter of months from graduating to the police academy to here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We were like, wow. We thought we was doing something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because I was like, I ain't worried about that. I got this. I got that. I can get it that way. I can get it this way. I had a veteran officer tell me from the door when I got out the police academy. He's one of my field training officers. He's like, hey, he said, make sure you go to court a lot. I'm like, what you mean? He said, that's overtime.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm like, what? He said, if you down there 30 minutes, a half an hour, you get paid 2.5 hours, no matter what.
Right.
And you're not scamming. That's legal. You know what I'm saying? I'm
yeah.
like, what? For real? Yeah. But then you learn very quickly, don't live off of that because it could go away.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because you're making a lot of money. I paid a car note, Mike, not to get up, but I paid a car note back in the 90s. I told my wife, come on, let's go buy a vehicle. We traded a vehicle in. She said, how are we going to make the money? How are we going to make the payments on this car? I said, watch this. For 2 straight years, I worked details, nightclubs, grocery stores. My car payment never came out of my paycheck.
Wow.
It came out of the detail money.
That's right.
And she was like, you was right. I'm like, yeah. I had a plan.
That's right. There you go.
But if I had that plan all the way through, we would have had a house when we was 29, 30 years old.
That's right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it was more material. You know how it is when you're materialistic.
That's
you
right.
Know what I'm saying?
Our culture is that, and we are preyed upon. We are 1.7 trillion spending power, and it's rising. And people they want that money. All I'm saying to people is you can keep spending the money. Just take a little bit of it and build something for yourself. Here's the thing. Wealth is built a couple of different ways. Let me say this first. You know how they used to say you got the poor, you got middle class, you got rich. They're now structuring it as you got the poor, the struggling, and the rich. Where do you want to be? And if you don't realize that the door is closing, there is going to be a wealth transfer. And are you going to be in the struggling and the poor, or are you going to be in the rich or heading towards rich? How do you build wealth? There's only a couple of ways, man. There's only a couple of ways. Yes, you can work hard and you can go do the overtime. But like you said, you were making money, but the money wasn't making any money for you. You were making it and saving it, making it and spending it. It wasn't growing for you. It wasn't doing nothing for you except for buying the material things. So how do you build wealth? You either have to invest, and usually that's long term. I had a gentleman, I sat down with him, and he had, I believe he had 7 kids. And we were talking about life insurance and different things. And he said, well, I have a rental house and I have a fleet of cars. And he said, I have probably some of the best vintage Jordans I ever had. And that some of the anybody's ever had. If anything happened, my wife could sell all that stuff. I said, you going to have your wife selling stuff while she's mourning you? She got to find a way. And then I said, when people know that she's in a position that she lost her husband and she's trying to make money, they're going to use that against her. You want your wife to be...
They're going to lowball her.
They're going to lowball her.
Yeah.
And I said, so this is one of the things I use, and people get mad at me sometimes. My wife told me to quit saying it because I've made a few gentlemen mad. But I said,
okay,
if you don't have your stuff together, meaning having the right life insurance, having some investments, having some things in place, your wife got 2 options. She's going to have to get another job or another Bob.
It's true.
She's going to have to get another job or another Bob. And then
you didn't leave her nothing.
Because you didn't leave her nothing. And then I asked the guy one time, I said, have you ever seen, I said, you a movie guy? He was like, yeah. I said, you ever seen Set It Off? He was like, yeah, it's one of my favorite movies. I said, remember Nate? I said, remember when Jada Pinkett had to go see Nate because she was in a bond? And she was like, Nate, I need it. He was like, well, come on with me. And then she was like, Nate, and then the next scene, they seen her driving off with Nate. And then Nate dropped her back off, smiling. That's what you want your wife to go through? She had to go see Nate? No. And there's going to be a lot of guys that probably pop out. They're supposed to be your friend that's going to play Nate. You know? So the second way is life insurance. So this is what I told the gentleman as well. He said, well, I got some investments and I'm planning on getting some more houses. And, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to flip houses and I'm going to do. I said, so right now, let's make sure I'm clear. You got 5 or 6 cars, 1 house, and some Jordans. So right now, if you walked out the door right now, your wife got to sell the house that you said is, it needs to be fixed up. So let's say it's 20, 30,000. You got another 20,000 in Jordans. I'll give you 20,000. And then you might got another 30,000. So in theory, you might leave your wife 70, 80,000, but you got 7 kids. So then here's the next question I asked him. How long you think it would take her to spend that 70, 80,000 with 7 or 8 kids? How long do you think that'll last? He said, oh man, wait, my kids, it's not that long. I said, so again, they still at some point gonna go through that 70, 80,000 and be back in the same projection. Or you can get this $250,000 of life insurance for $56. So now, if something happens to you, she got the 250 plus that.
That's right.
But if you live 20 or 30 years, you still got the 250. But now you're growing, so now you may have invested another $500,000. So now, if something happens to you, or when it happens to you, they got the $500,000, they got the 250,000, they got the houses, That's where we want to be ultimately. We want long term. This is my goal. This is how I'm gonna get here. This is what I'm projecting to do, and my family's gonna have this much money when this happens. But the security, the caveat, which means the important part, you're starting here. If you get here, you're going to be rich. Your family's going to be rich. But if you die right here, do they still deserve to be rich? Do they still deserve what you promised them? Do you still owe them what you promised them? Yes. So all life insurance is you're securing, you're buying money until it's accumulated. And where we go wrong at, we only got job insurance. And where we go wrong at, I have a great policy through my job. I'm not going to argue. You might have the best policy in the world, but what happens to that policy when you retire? What
And
happens to that
usually it
policy
goes.
if they fire you? What happens to
It's
that
gone.
policy if you quit because of something unforeseen? Or, like a lot that's been going on, your company has to shut down and they take all your
Mm-hmm.
pension and they take everything, or okay, here's your severance, but you lose that $500,000 of life insurance you thought you had, and now you're 59 with health conditions, and although they gave you a severance package to pay your bills, where does the financial legacy come from now?
It's true.
So
It's
what I
true.
teach people is everything that you want to do, we can do, but let's get you some insurance. Go do whatever you want to do. Go run, go get them, Tiger. But let's make sure you got some money secured, whether it's accumulated and it's liquid or you have to die for your family to get it. Secure some money. Secure the money. Secure the legacy. $56 bought this gentleman 250,000. And when I bring this up, my wife always say, you know, that young fella still, that was like 7 years ago, Jay. This young fella listened to me that day. We had a tough conversation, but 7 years
Mm-hmm.
later, he was 29. I think it was 29. They still got their policy 7 years later. So, sometime I've had some tough conversations where some guys were, I thought that was kind of disrespectful when I said that your wife gonna have to get another job or another Bob, or, how would you like it if your wife had to go? How many, I asked the guy one time, I asked the guy, I said, be honest, I know you got friends or whatever, but how many of those guys would you want to have your wife to have to go to if she needed something, if something happens to you? And he thought about it. Yeah, let me get that insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me get that insurance
So
because
she can have her own.
I wouldn't want. I know him. I know,
Yeah.
he's my guy. But if I'm not here anymore, my wife had to go to him for something. I don't like that. So
Yeah,
I
because
just have
you
tough
know what he's
conversations
about.
with guys. Yeah, and I just tell them it is very imperative that this stuff is important. Now, if you single guy, you ain't got any kids, go get them, Tiger. You might want to have something. You
Mm-hmm.
want nobody to be a burden if something happened to you. They got to bury you. But if you ain't got any kids, hey, run downhill. But if you got a family, these people be having families and responsibilities and they do dangerous stuff and they don't like. I just am a stickler of it, man. But I learned, as you spoke about, if we knew this stuff in our 20s. I didn't really learn. I'm not smarter than everybody. I just work hard and I seek information. I didn't learn this stuff till my early 40s.
Yeah.
Did I work hard? Did I try to save and do? I had life insurance through my job as a school teacher, and then I had a little small policy through American Family, which was still a terrible policy. I had some things in place, but not enough. I got 5 kids, and I had 5 kids. I
Mm-hmm.
had my first child when I was a senior in high school, so I've been having kids since I was not even an adult. So I always
Right.
had responsibilities, is what I'm saying, but I wasn't always
Mm-hmm.
responsible, you know. So I'm just glad that I found the information. God blessed me with understanding that I was doing things wrong, and I do this. And again, I hope people don't take stuff the wrong way, but I have Caucasian clients, I have Asian clients, I have a decent amount of Hispanic clients, but for lack of a better word, I'm going to say this a better way, but I'm going to say it the way I'm going to say it. I do this for African Americans
Mm-hmm.
because they need to
Nothing
understand.
wrong with that. Our community needs it because, like we both know, it's not being taught. Uh, I have some videos if you ever get a chance on my Big J Sports page on Facebook. I have my regular page, and then I have. I think I sent you an invite.
Yep, yeah, you did. I was
Um,
on there a couple of days ago.
yeah, and I got some financial stuff on there. Just different, real quick. Like, what's that comedian's name? He put me down with some stuff. Kevin Hart's on there too. He talking serious. He's not being funny. He's talking about saving money. Then there's some other guy on there. I got some good stuff on
You
there.
do got some good stuff on
And
there.
I'm,
The problem
yeah,
is though, this is this one problem. Yo, you got too
people
much.
not watching.
You got too much black and yellow on there. I don't understand. I just kind of I be squinting. I'm trying to listen, but then the black and yellow. Maybe if you had black and yellow with the red and the green, that's why the African color with the red and the green and the black.
Hey, okay.
Just the black and yellow. Hey, brother. It's just, if Kevin Hart wasn't spitting the facts, I just had to close my eyes and listen because the black. Hey, I used to give you a hard. I don't know if you remember. I used to give you a hard time about that. I think we worked. Which school did we work at? I can't remember, but.
Well, no, we met each other in the summer on the AAU circuit.
That's right. Okay. Okay, I could have sworn we were. Okay, that's right. You was at UA. You was at UA back then. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it is right. And you always rep your Steelers, man. That's one thing. Listen. I got several people that are Steelers fans that I know, but it's two people. I got this young lady named Paula that went to school with me. She's actually one of the owners of Nisi's. Her sister is Nisi, the restaurant Nisi's. Oh, okay. She's one of the main cooks. She's one of the owners. Paula is a Steelers fan, and y'all are like sickening. You two are sickening Steelers fans.
You're going to have to introduce me to her, man.
Yes, you'll love her. If you ever been to DC's, trust me, she's cooked your food. You've eaten her food for sure. Okay. She's one of the main cooks. Okay. She's really good at it. But yes, you would love her. Y'all would, but then y'all together I wouldn't know how to handle y'all if y'all together. So I don't know if I want to introduce y'all to each other.
Yeah, man, I can't stop that. And,
I know. I respect it.
Okay. Hey, but I tell you what, though, this last few years, not to get off the beaten path, but I got to give the Chiefs their props. They've been doing their thing. Yeah, they lost to the Eagles this past year, but the Eagles there wasn't nobody beating them this year.
Yeah.
They just was stacked.
That defense.
Yeah, off the chain. Very aggressive. They was doing their thing. And I kind of knew whoever played them was going to have issues.
They thought Patrick Mahomes could pull a rabbit out of his hat because they knew the offensive line wasn't going to hold up. So what they tried to do some things. They like that play when he got his arm hit. One of the guys said he knew he shouldn't have called that play because he had to do he had to drop back too far to try to throw that deep ball, and he should have kept it. He should have kept it 3-step, hot, boom, boom, getting it out. And that kind of changed the dynamic of the game after that. And then the Eagles
defensive linemen.
Yeah, the Eagles were chomping at the bit. The defensive line was chomping at the bit at that point. And now the Chiefs offensive line was frazzled. So now they just start pinning their ears back, and they didn't have to blitz or anything. And so that one play, the momentum, because the guy was open, but the Chiefs should have did their quick stuff, still did their quick, get the ball out their hands, get them off balance, get them thinking and looking, because they know if he's throwing it quick, then they raising up, looking to see, and then instead of trying to run upfield so hard, that's how but they try to take them big shots early in the game. Pat got hit, fumbled, it changed the dynamic of the game, and, we've never recovered,
And Philly's DBs are pretty good too.
Decent, but that's the weakest.
Yeah, decent.
If you got to pick between the defensive front seven and the back people, I want to go against I would rather take my chances on the D backs versus them D linemen. So yes, that's you can have weaker D backs when you got them people up front, because you don't have a lot of time and you feel the pressure. So it ain't like you can just be looking downfield and waiting on people to get open. So your back of your defense don't have to be as tough when you got that defensive front like that. So
yeah, it's true. They got a good team. The NFL is just different, But hey, man, I don't know if you wanted to. You did delve into a lot of it. That video that you talked about, the one that you said you sent to a young guy.
Mm-hmm.
You send to a lot of young people. How do I get it? How do I obtain one of those?
I'll send it to you. And then I want to also send
Okay.
you, I want to send you my financial house video. Trust me, man. Trust me. Put this video on your anywhere you got stuff at. I promise you, this video breaks it down so well. It's 14 minutes. Now I know they try to, have them 3 and 4 minutes for, trust me, this 14-minute video is set up in a way that it's easy to watch, and it's called the financial house video. This video will blow your mind. Jay, when you see this video, I really want you to, anytime you talk about finances, anytime you see a young person, anytime, this is a valuable tool to send to everybody who's looking to build their financial house. And they break it down like a house from the foundation to the levels, and with your roof, all of that makes sense. And I promise you, when you see this video, it will change your perspective on your finances.
Okay. Okay. And the company will, I don't know if you call it a company or if it's a personal, are you a subcontractor, or how's that work with how's that work with
I'm
you?
a subcontractor. I have to file my own taxes, so you're a subcontractor. But I'm backed by Primerica. They are a financial services company, the largest financial services company. A lot of people think we're just about insurance. A lot of people think they know about what Primerica does, but Primerica, believe it or not, has the most 6- and 7-figure earning agents of any company. We win the Dollar Bar Award. This is stuff you can look up. Things that I talk about most of the time, you can Google my information. Look up the Dollar Bar Award, DALBAR, the Dollar Bar. It's a mutual fund service award. We've won that award over 23 years in a row. We help more middle America. That's how Primerica says it. We help more middle Americans get investments for retirement. We do very, very well that we win awards year after year for helping middle Americans. What I'll leave you with is this. Most people don't realize that you're going to die. They realize they think it's going to be when they're 100 years old. Let me say, they don't realize that it can happen at any time. What I want people to understand is this. Your cell phone bill, you may never break a cell phone. I have an 81-year-old mother that's never been in a car wreck, but she's paid car insurance for 60 years. There's insurances that you buy. There's people that have health insurance and they've never used it. They're got it in their 20s. They've been in great health and in their 50s. 30 years of paying the bill that the life insurance bill will come to do. The life insurance will pay out. You're going to die. Now, I say it that way and people cringe. Why you say it that way? Because I want you to understand the reality that's going to happen. Again, we pray and hope you live a long life. But if you want to leave wealth for someone, if you want your family is competing against other rich families. Your family is competing against other people who left their family money. And again, money's not everything, but it's right up there close to breathing. And if you want your family to have something different than what you were left and how your life went, you have to do something about it. And the last part of that is, don't just think somebody has to die to create wealth. There's so many ways to create wealth, and you just have to be seeking out the information. And when you seek, you will find. And the reason why most people are broke today, it's not because they're not hard workers. It's because they don't have the right information. They don't have goals. They just wake up and go to work and pay bills and try to figure it out. You have to have goals. You have to have dreams. You have to have a plan. And there's people like myself to help you take what you want to do, take the knowledge that I have, and we help you form a plan. Where do you want to be at this age? Where do you want to be at this age? What do you want to accomplish? Do you want this? Do you want your kids to have that? How do you go about doing it? I take what you tell me, and then I take what I know, and then we mix them together and we create a plan. And when we get you there if you stay disciplined. But it's all the foundation of everything you do in building wealth. The foundation in everything you do when building wealth is life insurance. That's all I had.
It's good, man. It's good information, man.
Yes, sir.
It's great information. While I still have you on here, basically, everybody knows by now what I'm going through. I'm up for a dual transplant, liver and kidney. I made the list, so that's half the battle. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that, man.
Yes, sir.
So I'm just waiting. You know, it's not that easy. You got a lot of people out here with the same blood type as me who also need organs. So it's just how it works. So you might make the list, but it might be a minute before they call you, or it might be tomorrow. You just don't know. So with that being said, my job did something for me, and what I did during this football season, I did some watch parties down in my business office, 31 West 31 Main Street. Had a little spot there, and I did a couple watch parties for some Chiefs games. People were like, "You're a Steelers fan." I'm like, "Hey, man, I know that I know I'm in Kansas City. I ain't crazy."
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, if I want people to come, I better have a Chiefs game on. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it worked out, but now I did my job. My former job, University Academy, because I had to retire because of health. I had retired because of health back in 23, July 23. And they did something for me just recently, back in April. They did a benefit game for me. And that was big of them, man. They had a great turnout, alumni, kids that I coached who are now grown folks. They grown now. Most of them are grown, got kids of their own, married, things of that nature. But they showed up, showed out. Then a lot of the staff down there and some of the kids that played for the basketball team, girls and boys, put on a good game. So it was really big for me, and I really appreciate it. It was emotional for me, but it was big. But myself and my business partner, we're having a comedy benefit fundraising comedy for awareness for kidneys, and we want to do it in November. That's our plan. Our plan is to do it. I have some sponsors. I'm working on more because what my headline comic is from Pennsylvania, so we're working on getting him out here and putting him up, and I have ground for transportation for him, and I think the hotel will be fine too. But and then I have 3 local comics from Kansas City. The venue that we wanted to use is Outlaws Cigar Bar and Brewery off of 10th Street, across the USA Bridge. And but right now they're back and forth with me. So I'm still looking for a spot. So if anybody knows of a nice area where we can have something like that, and let me know. Let me know.
I may have some stuff. I may have a place. I may have a few places I'm gonna look into for you.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate that. But Mike, hey man, it was big to have you. I'm glad I ran into you that day at the Price Chopper. I hadn't seen you in a minute. I knew you were either in Belton or Raymore. I just didn't know where, and I hadn't seen you. I didn't know you were still coaching or whatever on the circuit or not. Did you plan it before I let you go? You plan on getting back into that?
Absolutely, I plan on it. I'm not bragging, and it feels good when people want you. It feels good when people seek you out. But I probably get 3 or 4 calls a year for football and basketball.
Okay.
Coach Lewandowski, he's one. I think he's assistant AD now in the district. He has a job every year that he calls me for, and I hate turning him down, but I'm doing this right now, and I got a few more things I have to get built and get this thing where I don't have to touch it as much, and then I'm back at it.
We're losing you, Mike. Hello, Mike. Can you hear me? You're in and out. All right, so that was Mike Green, uh, Wealth and Knowledge. We lost him for a minute there, but it was a great podcast, and uh, he's very beneficial, especially in the financial aspect and coaching. But financial, I brought him on here to talk about that this today, and um, he has a wealth of knowledge, man, and so seek him out. If you need any life insurance and things of that nature, or you just want to get into the business of becoming a subcontractor with Prime America, uh, look him up. He's a good guy, and I wouldn't have had him on here if he wasn't. The guy's a good guy, so I appreciate it. Hey, um, this is my first podcast in some time. I had some health issues that was keeping me from behind this camera. Um, but I'm back, and I feel a lot better. And so you'll still start to see more of me, and I will get back to all sports related and some Stiller Nation Midwest things too. And then also we'll also discuss. We'll have a podcast where we're discussing stuff. I plan to have somebody from the Liver Foundation, the Kidney Foundation, speak on my podcast, and we'll go from there. And we'll continue to do this, man, and bring knowledge to the community. Um, so, if you would like to get in touch with me, you can contact me at bigjsportsmedia.com. That's my website, my new website. Or you can also contact me at Big J's National Sports Media Group on my Big J page, and all videos will be uploaded to YouTube, Instagram, things of that nature, Facebook, uh, X, formerly Twitter, and things of that nature. So, check us out, man, and everybody have a good day. I'll be back a little later on this afternoon to do a sports podcast. So, see you later. Thank you.